These are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. Welcome to today's webinar. Today's webinar will focus on Surety basics. If you're running Surety Pro, they're basically everything is pretty much the same except for one area, and I'll remind you of that when we get there. But other than that, we have quite a bit of subjects to go through today in this next hour, and hopefully we can get through them all. With that in mind, though, we will not be taking questions during the webinar. At the end of the webinar, I'll put up my email, and of course we have our phone number for support. Please take advantage of that. So jot your questions down and give us a call or send an email at the end of the webinar. This webinar will also be recorded and available on our YouTube channel later on today or tomorrow. I'll send emails out to you showing you where that is at. With that in mind, let's get started. Okay, so once you log in, this is the screen for Surety, of course. If it's Surety Pro, you will see your company, possibly location, client, farm, and field ID drop-down lists up here. Everything else should look the same. So let's begin. We're going to first look at our zoom tools. Okay, and these different areas, let's describe. We have over on the left, we have what we called our left pane, and we have sections to our left pane, navigation tools, drawing tools, selection tools, and then of course on the bottom we show our latitude, longitude, and directions. To the right, we have another pane in green. The top contains our access to forms and maps. And then on the bottom, where the darker green band is, we have our layers and search. And if you're using parcel data, you would also have your parcel search in Surety Pro, not in Surety. Below that, then we have our individual layers. And first, what we call our boundaries is contain most of the things that we can use. You see the yellow lines, which are FSA field. Let me zoom in here, make sure you can see those. Okay, so we have our yellow lines, which are the FSA fields that a lot of people use, and some, as you can see, some of them represent fields well, some don't, and we can show you how you can do some merging on those. And then in the background, you will see, if you come down, you will see our what we call our ortho photo, and that's our FSA photo. And depending on what state you are, it's going to be 20, 21, or 20 or 21. 22 is not available yet. Of course, they will be flying that this year, and we make those available as soon as possible. If you're interested in a photo date, you can just turn on the photo dates, and it's going to show you when that photo was taken. Very important, and a lot of people don't probably see this because maybe sometimes because of resolution, it might not even be on your screen. But go down, there's another category below here under layers, and we call other. And if you click on a little plus sign, it opens up, and we have a lot more information. We have some special state information, and if we do put anything important as a state layer, we'll put that here. We have then the protected areas of the U.S. This is federal, state, and local owned land, either by designation, by easement, or through fees. So those you can turn on, and those are labeled. Then we have our H2o layers. This is where we have rivers and streams. We don't have those turned on automatically, but you can turn those on. We have our wetlands, our watersheds, and then our Fema information. Of course, a lot of people don't use the Fema information here anymore since we have Fema reporting in our maps. But that's under H2o. And of course, you got roads, counties, township name, township range sections. You can even put on quarter section, quarters. and then so you can see that. So this is some other layers to keep in mind as you're going through that. So let's those are the areas of the program. Of course, we got the map in the middle, and across the top we have file tools, and then we have our search bar, which we'll go through. So these are zoom tools over on the left. First one is zoom in. Now this has two functions. You can click on the map. So if you highlight it in yellow, that means it's selected. You click on the map, it'll zoom in a set scale. Okay. If you want to highlight something and bring it to the front and make it a larger part of the screen, let's say we're going to look at this roughly 40 acres here. You click the zoom in tool. What you can do with your mouse is you left click and drag a box. And when you let go of the your left click and hold, and you drag your box, when you let go, it'll zoom to the furthest extent of that. So you can zoom in a little closer and see things. So that's the zoom in tool. Of course, you can use your scroll button on your mouse or on a keyboard. You've got two-finger drag, or however your keyboard works that way, to duplicate that mouse roll. Okay, so that's the zoom in. Zoom out has only one function. When you click on it, it zooms out a set scale. Okay. Also, there's the pan. Pan, when you have that highlight, lets you draw or move the screen in any direction. So you come in, you see the crosshairs. So what you would do is left click, hold, and drag. Left click, hold, and drag to move the mapping screen. And that's pan. Now you can also pan while drawing, and we'll show you that. It's very convenient. And you can zoom in and out while drawing using like a scroll button on your mouse, which allows you to kind of take advantage of the detail of the orthophoto background for drawing more accurate boundaries. The next two is full view. Full view is, so most of you, when you first log in, if you have not set your view, your full view is the continental United States, basically. You can set that view. So as you see, when I hit full view, and in Surety, your full view is the same as your startup view. Okay. So when I start up the program, this is the view I see. If I hit full view, this is the view I see. In Surety Pro, your full view is based on maybe a location or your client extent of their boundaries in Surety Pro. But in Surety, your full view is set. So you can set your view. So let's, for example, if I decide I work in Iowa, and then when I log in or I hit full view, that's the only thing I want to see. You can zoom in Iowa. You can come up to Tools, Options, and then the Options page. And if you click the first line there, it says Set the Current View on the Map to the Startup View. When first logging in, it's also the full view if you're in Surety. You just click on that and it comes up, gives you a dialog saying that's been set. Now you don't have to save on this one, you can cancel out. We'll touch on a few of those other options there a little later on. So now, if I zoom out, let's say, and I hit full view, it's going to take me now to that view. So you can set those views. Previous view is very handy, especially if you go to one place and you do something and you move to another place and you want to get back to where you were before, or while you're drawing, you want to be able to get back to your draw field area. You can use the previous view, and what that does is just the history. So as I click it, it remembers where I was in my session, and it'll keep going back to those previous views. So that's what the previous view is, kind of a history of what you've seen. Okay, those are your zoom tools. Now we have also search tools, okay, and that's to help you quickly find where you're at based on legal descriptions, township names, latitude, longitude, so on and so forth. Now previously we had, under this dark green area in the right pane, we had search, and you come in and we have several search tabs. We had the legal, where you entered your state and you put in your section, your township range, also your direction, north or west. And you would locate that, and it would zoom to that section. You could also type in a latitude, longitude, and it would, when you click that in, if they're the same format, latitude, longitude, if you hit locate, it would zoom to that area. We had township names. If that's available in your state, you could put in a state and a township name in the section, and it would locate that. Of course, physical addresses, and in Texas, they have Texas Land Survey. So that was previous use, but let's say if you're mostly typing in section, townships, and range consistently, we also have added a new feature called the search bar. You can see where it's located here in this toolbox, but the search bar that I like you to look for and look at is this yellow bar above the map. This is our new search bar, and it allows you to type in multiple things to help you find. You don't have to go pick a tab and say, I just want to look for this. One thing to take advantage of if you're new to this is you see the little question mark. It's very small to the right of the spyglass. Click on that, and it's going to give you search examples. Now, we give these search examples because of when you type in things, this is how it's going to have to be. So, for example, section, township, range, you can see there's a couple different ways of doing that. If you're in a state where there's direction of township, north or south, and range, east, west, you'll want to use probably this one right here, so you can put your directions in. If you're in a state such as, well, I'm in North Dakota, there's just all north and west. You could use these up here. And there's some other ways of typing it in. You can actually search for quarters and lots also within the tool set. So these are other formats. Latitude, longitude. Before in the other search, you didn't have to put the negative sign under longitude, and here you do. These are different ways of typing in latitude, longitude. You can also use township name. You put the township name, and then put township after it, or TWP, and you can put your state. If not, it's going to give you some drop down. It's going to give you a box of options. You can also search county and city. One thing before, if you had the parcel add-on in Surety, you could not search for anything, parcel ID or name. Those were Surety Pro features only. Now, in Surety, you can search for the parcel ID. Now, this gets tricky. It has to be exactly how it is in our mapping system. So turn on the parcel layers, look at, zoom in and see how they're formatted. But we recommend putting in the parcel number, and then, of course, you have to have the state, a two-letter designation for the state. So you can see that, like in Illinois, there's several ways of doing it. North Dakota, for example, is a long one to use. And if it's not exactly, it's not going to find it. If there's multiple parcels with that ID, for example, in North Dakota is one example, the state that has that, it'll show you what county, a list of counties where that parcel ID exists, and you have to pick your county. It does that after you do your search. So you can do parcel ID searches now in Surety. Not ownership searches yet, but you can do parcel ID searches in Surety. One thing, again, to remember, you got to get the format right. So zoom in, look at how the parcel IDs are set up in the system, and then go from there. So how do you use this? Well, for example, if we're going to type in just a simple section, you can just go 15, 146, 47. And then you hit the spyglass or hit the enter button, or return button on your keyboard. It's going to search, and it will zoom to that area. So that is the search bar. Again, using a little hourglass or the search help here to give you indication how to type in each type of search pattern. Okay, now once you found your area that you're interested in, of course, there's several ways of creating your area of interest. The first one is ability using the selection tool to select one or several different existing boundaries. For most cases in surety, that'd be your FSA fields, unless you have a custom layer of some sort. Surety Pro, you can be your borders, it could be the FSA fields, or a custom layer you can choose from. So we're going to work with the FSA field layer, which is these yellow lines here. And as many of you used before, you use the selection button, you come in here and you place your X. So if I placed X here, it's going to grab this polygon, and we'll look at an FSA map just to show that. And so I grab this polygon here. Okay. Now if I select this polygon also, and maybe this one, it's going to show me all three of those. Okay, so if I select FSA map, now it's going to show me all three of those. Okay. Now that might not be what you want to show. Let's say if you're going to you're working on this whole section now. You want the boundary, outer edge. Well, we have selected these three, and you see you could create an FSA map, but sometimes you don't want these extra boundaries in there. Well, we have the capability of manipulating those. One thing you could do is you could just take the drawing tool and draw around this. In this case, the outer boundary is pretty accurate, and you probably want to use that. So one thing you can do under drawing, we have a couple tools to use with selecting or these existing boundaries. I'm not going to go through them all, but we're going to do one I'm going to show you that might be very important is the merge fields. Okay. When you click on merge fields over under drawing, now you can come in and you can select these polygons. And as you do, they turn purple, blue lines with red nodes around. So you see we selected this area here. Now, if we come in and we do merge selected over in the right pane at the bottom, you do merge selected, it's going to merge those. Well, to prove that they did, let's go up to FSA map here, and you'll see now we have one boundary around here. Okay. You can change the color of that boundary, of course. Here, you can add acres to that. So you just hit save, and it'll add acres also in here. Okay. Now, let's say you don't want the township or the FSA white boundaries here. Well, just come out here, go back to layers, and turn that off now that you have your boundary created. And now if we do an FSA map, you can see that it clears those lines up, and you have a nice clean picture of your field. So one thing you can see, and we're going to talk this before we do the drawing, is you can see now it's highlighted in blue. This just represents our editing mode, edit mode. What you can do now is you could also edit this boundary. One thing you can do is you want to delete a point. So we got 2 points real close here. Let's get rid of a node. This is just an example. What you do is you click on one, left click on one node and hold it and drag it over another node. You'll see the other node has disappeared. That's how you delete. If you want to add a node, you would just left click on the line and it would add a node. You can move that around by left clicking and holding that. You can pan that around. You could also add a node away from the map. So if you click further away, it's going to snap to the nearest line and you can draw that back. So let's edit mode, and we'll look at that a little bit again when we do some drawing. So one thing you could have done, let's remove this drawing. Let's go back to the FSA fields. One thing you could have done is use what we call our Smart Select tool. And this allows you to select a boundary for editing, an existing boundary for editing. It could be these lines, custom layer, and Surety Pro. It could be a boundary, but these are the Smart Select means we're going to put you in edit mode. So if I come in here and I do a Smart Select, it automatically puts this into edit mode. And one thing I could have done is I could have just took this and drag these up. Whoops, sorry. I didn't want to do that. Make sure you're not left click and hold. You click on the node, otherwise you'll pan. But you'll see I could have just done this, and then I would have had my field boundary also. So there's a couple ways of doing that. So that's the selection tool. One thing you can also do is if you want to select multiple polygons, when it's on select, you can left click and drag a box and it will select any polygons underneath that. So in this case, you saw I selected the 3 polygons there. So you can use a drag box for selection. Okay, let's look at drawing. And the tool we're interested in is draw a field. Okay, this will be able to draw polygons on the map. So once you get to your area of interest, and if you're zoomed out like this, I would make sure if this is your area of interest, I would use the zoom in tool and get as close as you can. Okay, because this is going to give you ability to see the outline of the boundary a little bit better, take advantage of the high resolution images. So what you can do now when we come in drawing, you have to draw a field. Now over on the right here in this right pane, you can see at the bottom, it kind of gives you instructions. It's going to show you your acres and things of that nature. You can access the drawing help page from here, which has good documentation and video on the drawing tool. But you can see information here, and we can do some you can adjust acres and things of that nature. Here you can create a buffer. But with drawing tool, once you click drawing, you come in and it says left clicks to start a new field. So you left click to set your first node. Okay. And now you'll see the line follow your mouse. That means you're in drawing mode. Now you go and you click and you set your next node. Now nodes allow you to change direction. It's a straight line to draw in between nodes. To change direction, you have to put a node down. Now, I mentioned before, you can pan as you draw. And again, you would just keep setting your nodes as you go all the way around. And when you get to the end, you just click on the starting node or double click your last node to close it, snap it shut. But one thing you do is take advantage of high resolution. If you have a scroll button on your mouse, scroll in one set. You can see now you can see the edge of the field really well. And now you can continue drawing a more accurate boundary. This helps if you have a detail like around a river or some trees or a farmstead, you can put some detail. Now, though, what do you do when you get here? Well, you could zoom out again with the scroll button and then move down here and zoom back in. That would work. But also what you can do, and let's round this corner here, you get over here to the west, is you can move away from your node, just move off a little bit. Now left click and hold that left mouse button. Left click and hold that left mouse button puts you in pan mode, and you can drag that field, let go of the mouse button, it redraws and fills in, and now you can continue drawing. So you can take advantage of the high resolution data by using that pan tool. Very convenient tool to help. Like I said, just left click and hold and you can pan. And you can take advantage of the resolution. Okay, let's finish this up. I'm going to scroll out with my mouse key and scroll back in. And what you can do now as you get to the end, you can either click on the first node and that will close it, or you can set a node a little closer. And so right here, I'm going to set a node, but I'm going to double click my left mouse button and it's also going to close it. So when it's done and it's enclosed, you can see we're in that edit mode. And now you can make some changes. You can add nodes. You can do some adjusting, things of that nature. Okay. Now there's a few other things you can do. You can draw exclusions, which means you can draw out areas within the field that you don't want included in your map. So it's if they right in the middle of this field, if there's an uncropped area, you'd be able to draw that out. You do just while you're still in drawing mode, you could just start a new polygon by left clicking, and you start drawing. Now there is an area not in this field that's exclusion, but I'm just showing you. And again, you close it. Now you can see on this current polygon, I drew out 14.7 acres, subtract it from the total. And so you can see what you have done. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of that. So I'm just going to drag over the points to delete those nodes. And once you get the last one, it'll disappear. So we're back to our total acreages of 579.39 acres. So let's say you wanted to make that a nice even 580. You could come in here to the adjust acres, type in 580 and hit adjust. Oh, sorry, I got to go back into Smart Select. Oh, sorry. Okay, now we're back in Smart Select. So when you do that, if I delete that happened there, I deleted it. Now, if you ever get out of the blue area and just use Smart Select to come back in, again, let's adjust that acreage 580, hit adjust, and it's going to adjust that. So what it did is it all the way around this boundary, it just expanded it out a few feet so that it gets to 580. Now we can go ahead and create our maps and forms. Okay, those are the selecting drawing tools. Now we're going to move on to the layers. We did talk about accessing what layers are available. Now we're going to talk about a little bit about each individual layer on here. Of course, we saw the FSA fields, which are the yellow boundaries that you can use. You can select and use. Let me turn this drawing off here. You can hit to remove a drawing or selection. You can use the little trash can here, and if it's a selection, you can remove all X's here. So we're going to look at this field. Of course, like I said, we have the FSA fields, and you can see the boundaries. We have crop history that you can put on the map itself. If you want to see the legend, there's the legend. Of course, though, we got maps and reports up here for most of these layers, so you don't need to put them on. If you log in, this happens sometimes, and you see something like this on your map, and you're going, "What the heck is going on?" Just check your crop history; it might be turned on. Parcel data, if you do have access, or if you've purchased that add-on, the parcel data layer, the orange lines, and as we zoom in this case, I have the parcel they're set. It kind of zooms out for that reason, but you can set the parcel labels here, what you want displayed here. Again, we'll look at how you can look at the help page for that. Again, those are only available to those that have purchased the parcel add-on. We get some other ones that are not for maybe for those in the financial area. And we got the contour Topol lines, which you can turn on the map. And we'll talk about these a little bit more here as we look at the forms and maps, and the topography hill shade, which puts topography on your map. It's only set for a certain scale, so probably you can probably see it on a probably here's a 3-section by 3-section area, and this gives you your topography over there, and we'll look at that a little bit more here as we look at lines. And you can look at NDVI for information on NDVI. I encourage you to use the help section. Now, speaking of help, let's go there and look, because we have a very intricate support system as far as documentation and videos. Everything in the system is pretty much documented. There's a good chance there's a video showing you how to use a tool or create a form or map. So I want you to take advantage. A lot of people don't realize that it's there. So there's 2 ways of accessing that. You saw, well, 3 ways actually. You saw on some of the tools, you can say get help. On the drawing tool, for example, you can see there's a drawing help page, and you click on that, it'll take you to that. There's also, under help here, we got support documentation, how-to videos right here. So if you click the how-to videos, it gives you a list of videos to watch. Also, the support documentation you can access here, or you can access this on our website under support, and you just click under support, you would click aggregating docs. Also, there's tutorial videos, older webinars are there, or access to webinars are here. But then you would click on these docs and you get to this page. Also in the help system, you get support documentation, you get to this page. Okay, once you're in this page, I got it here too. Let's call our wiki. You can search for our documentation. We got some quick links here to some of the more used documentation. But you can also come in here in this box or in this box over here. You can type in what you're interested in. So we're going to look at the soils layer now. And so let's type in soils. Hit your enter button or return button, or click the two little dots next to the box. Now it's going to go through and search for everything in our documentation related to the word soils, kind of like a Google search. And it's going to weigh it as far as importance. So now I'm done. I came in here. The first thing you see on the list is understanding the Surety Soils Map Report. Okay. Let's look at that. Let's click on that. This takes you to our soils support, and as you can see, quite a bit of information. First, we show you and discuss some of the attributes in the soil structure. We talk about productivity indexes, and then we show you how the maps and how they look as we look at different productivity indices throughout the country. At the end here, as we get to some of these states ratings, let's move through that. We're still there. Here's the one that covers all states: National Commodity Crop Productivity Index, or NCCPI. And if there's no data available, it shows you how that is. Now that's the information, and that's the soils map and how it looks. Now let's go back. As you can see, there's other things that you can. One is your soil report options. We're going to look at that. And this is going to show you how you set your report options and basically your different attributes. Okay. So we list and allow access to quite a few different attributes within the soils layer. So as you can see, depending on what your state are in, certain things are available that other states don't have available. So those are your soil report options. So you want more information there. So let's come in and let's take a look at the soils report. Okay, so we're going to zoom in here, and we're going to grab a field boundary here. Oh, sorry. Let's look at this one, and I'm going to select it. We're just going to use this boundary here. Okay, so we do the soil map here, and that's going to bring up your soil report. Depending on what state you are, it'll give your productivity index and CCPI. But as you see, you can set this information, color map. So if I come over here and I click soils options, it's going to take you to our soils report options. This will allow you to select different crop yields depending on your state, put what crops you want to see them for if they're available. In this case, we have some individual states that have some individual production information. We got soil features. Soil features allow you to turn on different things such as water depth table, foundation limits, capability classes, and as we add attributes, we'll add more into here. And once you turn them on, or if you make changes, just hit save, and they'll be on your report. So on this report, this is in Norman County, Minnesota. I have soil code, description, acres, percentage of field, NCCPI overall legend, in this case, productivity index. So the legend is based on the NCCPI overall on the color. Now, we've added a feature. we were set with a certain amount of colors. We've changed that, and now you can add more colors. Another way you can access the tools or the soils information is through options. And you go to soil report options, which is what we just saw for the attributes on the soil report. But we also got soil color options, and it brings you to this page. This allows you to pick your graph. And so as you go left to right, or your coloring, left to right, it tells you different things that you can choose. So make sure you check out your state. This is NCCPI information. Illinois Bulletin 11, make sure you have that selected if you're in Illinois. Irrigation class, non-irrigated class. Soil rating for plant growth, that's Nebraska. That's, I believe, not used anymore. But these are what color your maps, okay? So by default, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see some ranges, and you're going to see set colors. Well, what we have now done is allow you to change the colors, and you can also change the ranges. So what I'm going to do is in Minnesota here, I'm going to do some changes. I'm going to leave the ranges in place, but you can change those. You just come in here and pick a number and readjust it like this, and then oops, not 850. And then when you're done, you can hit save to save it, or you can go back to where it was before by just hitting set defaults. But one thing you can do is, you see when you go in the color here, a little hand comes up. That means you can click on it. So we're going to click on it, and now we have over 200 and some color options for you. And you can set this. So if I just want to use greens, for example, I'm just going to do this quick here. Use some greens, and then maybe yellow, and then a red for bad. So I can reset these colors, and now what I would do is I hit save. Okay, that has saved that. Now those colors are set. You don't have to set them again. They'll always be available until you change them. Now if I come in and I do my soil map, you can see those colors have changed, and now I have my own custom colors to represent that. And as you saw, I turned on the Minnesota Productivity Index as my legend, and it did use those numbers right here to set my legend instead of NCCPI. And so that's the soil report options. Again, look through that help pages to get more information. One thing I also want to talk about now is our Topo contours and Topo hillshade. Some people have seen those already. Some people probably don't realize that they're available. So there's several ways. You saw the individual layers, but most people want to just get information on the field they're looking at. So we have those reports. First of all, topography contours. So you can create a report there, just the contours. And you can they'll be set. You can come in here and readjust those contours by just coming in and creating a new interval. Now we're going to do 5 foot. I hit update. You're going to see more information. This is a pretty flat field. So let's go down to 1 foot, update interval, and you can see more detail. And you can set those here. You can even go a 1/2 foot if you want. One thing people really like is the topography hillshade. And now that does hill shading, and it represents elevation by color. As you can see here, here's the graph. This would be low. In this case, the lowest here, minimum, is 873.9 feet above sea level. Here's the high is white, and then be 82.5 in some of these areas. Here, this is the range, the difference. So you can see it's very flat because it's only an 8.5 foot change across the whole section. But you can see we can pull detail with drainage and things in there. And so you can see that. But you can also see that you can also set contours. So let's set 1 foot contours on this map again. And you can see it kind of pops out the elevation even a little bit more. So you can set those contour intervals on there also. So that's the new topography features if you've never seen that before. Next, some of the things that might be is the Fema information. Let's get to a place where we possibly could see some Fema information or be of value. So let's get to, let's look at the Red River Valley here in North Dakota. Let's zoom in around Grand Forks area, but let's look at some of this here. So we have some of these fields here. So let's select this 98.99 acre field here. So if you come in, place my X. Now if I come in here and I got several different FEMA, and the main one is the FEMA report. This is going to show you lots of information on that field. It's going to give you that report. So this is the fields in here. Let me show you how you can change the color of the field. You come into map options and you can go border outline color and you can change that. So let's make that green so we can see that, and then just hit save. And so you can see the outline of the field, and within that field it's going to give you all the information. So for example, we have X zone, AE zone, another AE zone with a subtype of floodway. And it's going to show the information on that. It's going to give you your panels and effective dates. So you can get that. That's your FEMA report. And you see a couple other things like FEMA determination map, and that's more for financial, but you can use that, and we have information on there that's automatically filled. You can print that out and you could fill that in. So that's the FEMA data. We also have a wetland report. That's right here. I'm not sure if there's wetlands in this. Nope, there's no wetlands in this field boundary, but if there were, it would show you their classification, total acres. Another report we've put in now is called the legal description. So if you have set your area of interest, you come in here, click legal description. What happens is now that it'll give a short and long legal description of that field boundary and anything within that boundary. So it's a nice way of getting a quick field description for yourself. Now, as I mentioned before, we do have quarter sections, of course, and quarter section designation. So when we search, as we come up here, you can search for those quarters and lots. So if I'm going to search for the northwest quarter of this section, I'll just drop an NW in the front here, and we'll zoom to that. That represents the northwest quarter. And you'll see that it's going to be highlighted. So we highlight that. Now this is based on just squaring off the section. It doesn't mean they're totally accurate, but you know, in this case, this is what presented. Maybe this road curves down a little bit. And you could take advantage of that, but it will highlight it, and you could create a map from this real quick if you wish. And so that'll show you outline of that area. So you can do that, or you can just, come to drawing and remove it and be where you're at. You can also search to the quarter section. So let's type in southeast, and these two, as you can see, would be right next to each other. So this is the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter, section 15. Let's look, and it's going to highlight that. And again, you can create maps from that. So you can quickly zoom to a quarter section or quarter section and create maps from that. So with that, you know, we went through quite a bit of things, but hopefully you picked out one or two things that might be of help to you. Keep that in mind as you go through the system. Again, I encourage you to take advantage of our documentation and our tutorial videos. They cover basically everything that's can possibly be done in the system, step by step. The videos are very helpful. Some, you know, we try to keep them as short as possible and to the point, and so the details are there. Please take advantage of that. I did say I mentioned if you're Surety Pro one area, I want you to remember is if you're Surety Pro, you have to have a client selected to create your area of interest. You don't have to save the boundary, but you need to have a client selected to create your area of interest and create the maps. Otherwise, they will not show up here until you do that. So if you're missing some things, just keep that in mind. But with that, that is all I have for today. Again, this video has been recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel. And I'll send each of you a link to that when it becomes available. So at the end here, we'll put up my address, email address, and a phone number. Again, if you have questions or on anything, please feel free to drop us an email or give us a call. We're happy to help you get. If you're interested in parcel data and more information, I'll come back to this, but go to our website, agridatainc.com, click on pricing, and then we'll have our services, and here you see parcel data. And you can check availability if, it's by county. Some counties might not be available, and it also gives you updates. You'll see quite a few places are updated fairly well, and here's the pricing structure. And that's available for Surety and Surety Pro. With that, I thank you for your time and have a good rest of your day.